So you've seen all your favorite content creators from the chess and Pokemon scene crawl out of the woodwork scrambling to make their quota of content around this game, and it makes sense because the chess community has been exploding in popularity lately, with tons of streamers jumping on the bandwagon when they realized how easy it would be to fill their contract's live streaming quota playing it. And everybody knows Pokemon, even if you hate to admit it, Scarlet and Violet is the best-selling Switch game of all time. When you put them both together, you'll find yourself playing a completely new game, ripe with unique strategies to take advantage of, and a completely overhauled meta. Rules that'll make you want to tear your hair out if you don't know how they work, critical hits and misses, and tons of crucial tips you'll need to know if you're going to become a Pokemon chess master. So Google a type chart and whip out a chessboard so we can get started. Started with the sponsor, that is, because this video is sponsored by the Crystals of Zaleth. If you've ever been interested in Dungeons & Dragons but have nobody to play with, Obvious Mimic's new single-player adventure book is right down your alley. An ancient city holds lore, secrets, and power lost to time. From the creators of the Wolves of Langston, embark on an expedition to uncover the mysteries buried deep in the jungle, all while surviving deadly traps and solving thought-provoking puzzles. Design your character any way that tickles your fancy and jump right into the adventure the second you crack the book open. Every story is different, and in the spirit of Dungeons & Dragons, your actions will completely change the course of the story. Obvious Mimic's been creating some of the best products for people interested in role-playing games, being a beacon for new players to learn the system at their own pace without the anxiety of in-person games, test new character builds to find a playstyle that suits you, and for the aspiring Dungeon Master, helps to teach how an interactive session of D&D can be planned out. You can check out the Crystals of Zaleth's Kickstarter in the description below. Thanks to Obvious Mimic for making this video possible, and let's get right back into it. I'm assuming you know the basics of chess and how the pieces move. I mean, it'd be embarrassing if you didn't, because chess has been around for more than 1,000 years and all that. But just to be safe, if your king gets captured, you lose, and the queen is the most valuable piece on the board. Although all that's still mostly true, some rules unique to Pokemon chess meddle with things a bit. For instance, at the start of the game, both players get to rig their pieces up with typings. Each piece can only have one unique type, so no duplicates, multis, or anything like that. If you make your pawn a fire type, no other pieces on your side can be fire. And even if one of the sprites looks like Gengar, for instance, they'll only be half the typing of their former self. How do typings work in chess, though? Well, when you try to take a piece, you'll succeed if your typing is neutral, kamikaze if it's not very effective, get to take a second turn if it's super effective, or waste your turn doing nothing if it's immune. Considering that only immune pieces can't be captured, we'll want to consider that when choosing a type for our king. Normal, flying, ghost, ground, and fairy are all great contenders, keeping our king safe from ambushes from certain Pokemon, and on rare occasions, even allowing the king to play defensively as you stand defiant in the face of the enemy queen. In Pokemon chess, you're not forced to protect your king during check to avoid a game over, since there's always a chance that a move won't be effective, or heaven forbid miss. We'll get into that later. Personally, I'd rig my king up with the flying type, just because of how threatening ground is to go up against. And to explain that, let's get right into the breakdown of our next piece, the queen. Here we have the complete opposite mindset. As the strongest and most versatile piece in the game, the queen should be as offensive as possible. Ground, for instance, can super affect 5 different types, forcing your opponent to watch the board like a hawk just to make sure super effective attacks from the queen don't instantly combo into a game over. And although incredibly powerful, is the exact reason why so many kings wind up flying. Look at them, so high in the sky, immune and far away from Nidoqueen's earthquakes. So if certain combinations of queens and kings are giving you trouble, playing something off meta like a fire or water queen could be a much stronger pick. You can make the case for fire based solely on dealing with steel. Steel rooks play hyper aggressive and hop into the backline to KO everything until a piece finally self-destructs to take them down. If you lose any way to threaten steel, you have also just thrown an extra Pokemon or two down the drain. Fire super affects steel and nothing's immune to it, making it a no-brainer of a swap-in. Then if you're in the mindset of just hosing down the 2 best enemy queens, water can super affect ground and fire, making for a great hard counter if you can predict it properly. And just by that, we have the trifecta of queen strategies that you should usually try to play with. To explain a little more why any other types are worse for the queen, let's take a look at Dragon and Steel. They have great coverage, resisting tons of typings, but your queen doesn't need defense since any piece attacking it is still getting its value even if it dies in the process. In a game where you can also win in 3 turns, most pieces are better off as glass cannons looking for super effective combos as often as possible. Speaking of bad typings, for the pawns, they offer the least amount of value, so giving them the hand-me-downs is usually a good idea. These will normally be the types that don't have a lot of super effective matchups, and anything other than steel. If you're planning the castle, try to give the castling pawns typings that won't let the queen super affect them, because I can't stress this enough, if the queen is here, 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 or here, you're basically in pseudo check. My ground queen will super affect one of these pawns, then go straight for the neck. Looking at the rooks now, one should be a typing that complements your queen, and the other should almost always be steel. A steel rook can force trades with the queen just by existing, while the other helps to lock down pieces your queen couldn't normally attack. Then to wrap up the knights and bishops, because this is getting really deep into the metagame and I don't have enough data to go this far, any type that super affects the pawns works because they can quickly combo through them and into the opponent's backline. Yeah, the pawns in Pokemon chess just really aren't threatening in any capacity. They're mostly just there to let your opponent get sick multi-kills off them. So keeping your opponent's pawns alive so you can use them later in a sacrificial super effective combo is a great strategy if it doesn't have you lose any board pressure. But through bundling all this info up so far, here's a team comp that perfectly showcases everything. We got a Metagross on Rook duty, Nidoqueen unsurprisingly as the queen, and Charizard repping the flying type. Bishops and Knights take up the offense with Water, Fighting, Poison, and Dark, and because there's more Pokemon typings than chess pieces on the board, Ice and Bug both get benched. Maybe in some meme team comps they can find a home, but that'll be a while. If you know how to play chess, read type charts, and know when to switch your queen's typing, using this loadout should usually help you pull out a victory against any casual player. Granted, RNG doesn't kick in with random crits, we'll talk about that later.
Can you stop putting it off and just talk about crits already?
Fine. So basically, whenever you try to take a piece, there's a 10% chance you'll miss and skip your turn, and a 6.25% chance you'll crit and get to take an extra turn with the attacking Pokemon. Although critical hits and misses go a long way for immersion's sake, since, you know, it's the funny Pokemon mechanic and all that, it doesn't really translate that well in chess, and is what I believe ultimately dooms this otherwise neat game into a permanently casual experience. In classic Pokemon, the chance of missing goes hand in hand with the strength of a move to make a cost-reward situation, while critical hits are there to help breach overly defensive team comps. In Pokemon chess, neither of those things exist, making their inclusion feel less like it's for a good game experience and more for appearance's sake. Because both outcomes force defenders into awkward positions where RNG can be enough to decide the fate of most matches. I've had games that have ended in 3 turns because of this. It's certainly hilarious, but a bane to anyone taking the game as concerningly serious as we are in this video. I don't want to bash on these mechanics too much, so to focus back on strategy, just try to keep the board pressure up to make enemy crits less effective and your own stronger. Apparently the center is a hotspot for total board domination, so defend it like a game of King of the Hill and you're as good as gold. Then for misses, I'd just recommend you ignore the mechanic entirely. And to wrap things up, every Pokemon game has its rival. So I went ahead and abducted my friend Slime to put all this knowledge to the test. He's a really solid opponent, and we played in a best of 5, testing a few of my goated team comps against his quickly drafted ones, just so we could gauge if team comps actually mattered, or if he could still pull a sizable number of wins out of thin air.
Hello, YouTube, Among Us.
Hello, Epic Gamers.
I'd actually end you if you started with hello, Epic Gamers. Your life would be forfeit. I think I understand the play here with the Ground Queen. I'm playing very standard chess right now, so you better play some special Pokemon obliteration move.
Slime went ahead and picked a Ghost King, which, considering he didn't spend a week writing the script, is pretty impressive. Ghost is immune to normal and fighting, denying my Sirfetch'd and Bidoof a chance to do anything. Poor Bidoof, shot down in its prime. But no more than 2 turns into the game, and I already make the biggest blunder of the set.
Really plain simple. That's the game we're going with? I think I've literally lost here, actually. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Is this seriously it? Here.
No, you found out! The second I moved my queen there, I realized how big of a blunder that was. So basically, I thought that since flying couldn't be affected by ground, it also worked the other way around. Meaning I thought I could place Nidoqueen there without being threatened by Corviknight, combo into Pichu, and instantly body the king for a Game 1 victory. But even after all my preparation, somehow I still blundered hard enough to warrant forfeiting instantly. In the pursuit of science, we we agreed to redo round 1. We did the same openers, but this time I wasn't so bloodthirsty with my queen and took things a little slower. This meant nothing though, because just as quickly as my queen was taken before, Slime's Corviknight was back for seconds. It crit into a super effective slaughter on my Bulbasaur into my queen. You can't make this stuff up. Anyway, this massive loss forced me to waste time playing smarter through the match, which wound up having me run out of time. A pretty solid round to showcase early on that no matter how prepared you are, RNG can and will cause the deaths of your loved ones. Charizard didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. Game 2. Swapping into a Water Queen turned out to be a good idea because Slime kept his Rock Queen in. Looking back at this match, there was a way I could have moved my Queen to basically win in 3 turns. AKA, just let my Melodia super effect through all the rock and dirt, then claim the king right after. But one way or the other, that Trap Pinch still wound up being my ace in the hole. And then let's go over to Victory Road.
Now that was the best move you could have played. I am proud of you, Blaine.
Pawns in Pokemon chess are how it feels to be shot in the back after the start of a CSGO match. The purest definition of needless friendly fire. But later on, I blunder my queen even after multiple graces from God to get her out of there. Okay, what does that do? Nothing. Never mind.
And then we go for...
What?
What do you mean?
See the predicament I'm in now, but I actually see the solution to escape it.
I think you do. You should.
There it is.
You sacrificed it. Congratulations.
And with Slime out of any pieces that could threaten steal, had my Metagross rush out to harass his own.
I don't know about you, Blaine. Seems kinda sus.
I see nothing you can do with this queen, besides move it. Yeah, there we go. Run. Run while you can. What is your plan, Slime? What will you do?
Fine.
There it is. Up until this point, we were even on time, but once my Steel type was out and about, he spent most of his own panicking to find a way to counter it. Once again proving just how menacing Steel can be if you run out of good ways to knock it out of the game. Match 3. In this match, Slime brought out Latias to rep as the Dragon Queen. Not a great type, since you shouldn't be looking to trade with your queen, but rather go on a killing spree. Ultimately though, I played poorly this game, and once I blundered my Steel Rook, which then comboed into my Bishop, it was game over. Match 4.
You always start off with an electric in the center. I noticed that. And you always have ground on a forceful piece.
So at around this time, Slime started to notice that my pawn typings weren't changing, which could have actually been deadly if he started to take advantage with new starting strats. I began with a Delibird Bishop to predict that his Latias would stick around, and a Queen that could once again end the game in 3 turns if she really wanted to. Although I, once again, completely passed the opportunity up, something happened a few turns later that more than made up for it. Wait, I don't think you know what's going on here, Slime.
I am very aware of what's going on here. Okay, I may have misclicked castle.
No, you did not. You just said you were very aware of what's going on here. A perfect example of why you should never castle your king around super affected pawns. Me and Slime were finally neck to neck. Whoever would win this final game would be declared the champion. On average, Slime had better game awareness than me, even despite the last round. But what I had was a team forged with love, passion, and logic. It's gotten me this far at least. But even despite that, I made a few crucial misplays. They didn't immediately cost me the game, but I should have seen them coming. I predicted Slime would keep his Latias in for another round, but didn't change my king to fairy. Super rookie move, but it didn't matter because neither of us moved our queens all game. No, in the end, I made an even bigger blunder in my failure to remember that this game has no guardrails. Wait, what?
You left your king open.
Huh? A perfectly good match, thrown yet again to another blunder. And although Slime was declared the champion, that doesn't discredit any of the tricks in this video. I really lack practical experience if the amount of blunders in this video were apparent. And someone with a much better head on their shoulders for the gameplay could run so much further with these strategies than I ever could. Overall though, Pokemon chess is a really fun concept. It has a lot more mechanical depth than people might give it credit for, and plays surprisingly well. If you're a content creator lined up to play in a Pokechess tournament soon, or just a casual player looking to dominate your friends, hope you can get more use out of this guide than I did. Now all we need is someone to put chess into Pokemon. That would be a game I'd pay money to see.